Hello again, this is Doug, the 2-Minute Gardener. Today we're going to look at how to terrace a hillside. So if you live someplace where you have a big old slope and you've always been wondering, what can I do with that slope? Let me show you how to make it more usable. So on this particular project, they had a large slope with a tiny little retaining wall that tended to be insufficient to stop the mud from cascading into their pool. So they wanted a design that terraced that hill so they could also have a patio halfway up the hill to enjoy their view of the canyon down below. So first up, did a design for them, and then it's time to bring in the contractor who brings in the baby bobcat. And I love these baby bobcats because they can slip through these tiny little gates. And as you're going to see, these are great for working in tight little conditions. So the first important thing is to recognize that you are going to have to remove a lot of soil for removing it. We ended up hauling 40 cubic yards out of this backyard because we had to excavate so much for the walls. We actually did 3 retaining walls to terrace up the hill. And so just be aware there's a lot of dirt that's coming out of the hill. As you see in this little project, it took almost 2 weeks to get all the dirt out. The next thing you have to realize when you're terracing is that you're going to have to dig down some big footings for these retaining walls. So all the walls you're going to see in this video are less than 6 feet. And so for a 6-foot retaining wall, you're going to have a footing that is approximately 2 feet deep by 2 feet wide. Now, it's really important that you check your local building codes to see how big the footing actually needs to be. For 3-foot walls, that's less. For anything 4 to 5 foot, you're going to have a little bit more. So again, in the local building codes where you live, there are really good directions and dimensions on how big to make the footings to make sure you're code compliant. So once all those footings are dug out and meet the code, then it's time to start doing the rebar. They do the rebar here every about 18 inches to build in that little spot there. And once you have the rebar in, then it's time to actually pour the concrete footings. And so the purpose of this, obviously for these big walls, is you need a lot of concrete. Again, a big heavy wall. Good walls have really good foundations. So once the concrete is poured, then it's time to start laying the block. You need to have that block in place before you pour the concrete footings, because as you see the guys, they are setting all these CMU blocks directly into the wet concrete. It needs to be wet enough that it'll grab the concrete, but not so wet that the blocks will sink into the concrete. And once they've laid that initial course and they're quickly laying it in, they're not mortaring it on side to side. They don't need to, but they're laying it all in to make sure that the blocks are set in the concrete and are perfectly level. It is really important that you make sure that bottom course is perfectly level all the way around. Once you have done the base course, then it's just a matter of moving a lot of these concrete blocks. Now these are 8 by 8 by 16 concrete masonry unit blocks, also known as CMU blocks. And these do get mortared in place with thin set mortar all the way around. So you can see they're building the first wall just to stabilize this big slope before they can even bother getting up the slope. It's just too hazardous to do anything else. Once you've built the first wall, then it's time to actually add the sealer. So it's really important when you're doing a retaining wall that the back side is sealed, because you don't want water eventually seeping against the wall. It'll damage the stucco and it could compromise the wall. So first you add the sealer against the back side of it, which is going to then direct all the water straight down the hill. Straight down the back of the wall to a French drain. Now with French drains, you have these 4-inch perforated pipes that are then wrapped in pipe sleeves. These are what are laid at the bottom of the retaining wall. These are called French drains. Really important that you have them wrapped in these sleeves, because that keeps the debris out of the pipes but still allows water to go into the pipes. So you put in your French drain, raise those pipes up to where they have a gathering point above the wall. Notice the guys are also using the landscape fabric to hold the dirt back from it, because when you backfill it, you want to backfill with gravel along the back side of the wall. Again, you're trying to get all the water that hits the wall to go straight down into the French drain. Now that the first wall is set, now it's time to start working your way up the hill, excavating the hiss. Now obviously we can't get the bobcat up the hill, so this all had to be hand dug and lowered bucket by bucket all the way down. So they would basically bring dirt down, and then start hauling the CMU blocks up the hill, which, as you can imagine, was pretty time consuming. So they've laid all those blocks up there, and now the next part is to do the stucco coat. So when you stucco coat a wall, you first do a base coat on the wall, and then you do your final color coat of the wall. And so this is important because, again, you're trying to do layers of material that will help the wall be preserved and look good. All right, the walls are actually built. So now comes the next phase of this, which is actually getting a way to get up to the top. So that involves building the staircase. So for the stairs and the pathway to the upper patio, we decided to do concrete. This is actually colored concrete. This is called San Diego Buff, and this is a color by Davis Concrete Colors that we did for the stairs and the pathway to the top. The very top is going to get a nice paver patio to create a really wonderful space to enjoy the view. But this part, we're just doing simple concrete, although again, a little bit of colored so it kind of matches the pavers as well. All right, once all that is dry and completely dried, you want to make sure it's completely sealed off before you go traipsing up it with too many other materials. Then it's time to haul the pavers up there. And now it's a little bit easier to do with the concrete in place. So now the guys are laying out the pavers for the upper patio itself. So let's again take a look at the before, what it was before, where it was just a nasty hillside slip sliding away down into the pool. And afterwards, it is a beautiful backyard with an upper patio, a terrace garden in the middle, stairs to make it easy to get up the hill. As part of this project, we also redid the pool, we restuccoed it, we actually reshaped it slightly, and redid the tile and the coping. Notice with the wall there, we added some lights built into it, and even on this side patio, which also is a little bit raised, we did some nice shade structure. There's a wonderful shade structure kit. And again, so here's the entire project. We've terraced up. There's the lovely patio up on top with the seats, and now they have a restructured pool to go along with it for their beautiful backyard. Well, that's all the time we have for today. A big thanks to Unique Landscaping for the great job they did on this project. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to get more of my garden videos. Until next time, this is Doug, the 2-Minute Gardener, saying thanks for watching.